Howdy ho guys, and welcome to the Bone Junior vlog. Alrighty. In this entry I wanted to kind of give a summary, essentially. You know, this entry is kind of like a the punchline of, you know, the previous few entries, right? Where I talked about, you know, things such as emotional healing in terms of like the evolution into, you know, when we eventually reach a point in our emotional healing journey where we realize that it's not about being a certain way or eliminating sides of us from, you know, from our beings, but rather it is learning to be ourselves as much as possible. You know, we learn that it's not so much about like changing ourselves as it is about peeling back the layers of restrictions that we have on ourselves, right? And then, of course, I also talked about how to be deserving of love, which is essentially the practical component to this, right? You know, the practical component is to start to do what you feel like doing, do what you love, you know, follow your happiness, follow your joy, right? Like I said, we live in a society at a time where, like, there's so much opportunity, like, there's no excuse, really, like, you know, you don't need to do the whole thing, the whole, like, kind of, like, traditional thing of, like, finding a job, starting a family, whatever it is, you know, like, now you can do whatever the fuck you want, literally, in this society, right? As long as you know, as long as you can survive, and you have basic survival skills, you know, like, you can do whatever the hell you want, you know, and you should, right? You should just do it, right? Just fucking do it. So, in this entry, I wanted to kind of give a summary in terms of, you know, what this looks like when we put it all together, right? And so, of course, like, we're all on this journey to live lives of happiness, right? You know, we're all here to self-actualize. We're all here to become enlightened and to live a life that is in alignment with our own highest expression and also the highest expression of the divinity that we're all part of, right? You know, we all want to live lives of greatness and alignment. That's why we're here, right? That's why you guys are watching this video. That's why I'm making these videos, right? And the message the kind of summary I want to give in this entry is, you know, it also ties into, it also kind of includes, you know, I did an entry about balance, right? I did a couple entries surrounding, you know, the topic of balance, which is like, you know, it's lined up with like unconsciousness, you know, in the sense that, like, you know, we have to know when to inhale, when to exhale, you know, when to step forward, when to step back, you know. This is the dance of life, you know. When to be gentle, when to be aggressive, right? And the message in this entry is to live as fully as you can and to launch yourself as fully as you can into the exciting chaos of life, but also minimalizing the harm that we bring to ourselves, right? Because, like, again, you know, there are basically two types of people. You know, there's the aggressive go-getter person type of person, and then there's the kind of more laid-back, chill, spiritual kind of person, you could say, right? You have the materialistic go-getter, aggressive kind of person, and then you have a spiritual person, right? And the strength of the aggressive person, the materialistic person, is creation, right? They're great, they're amazing creators, right? Because they go out there and they fucking forge, and they make all of these amazing things, and they form all of these amazing relationships, and they really, really launch themselves in the act of physical creation, right? You know, hey, look around us, man. Look at, like, the houses that we live in. Look at the technology that we have, right? That is all because of these people who go out there and fucking create, right? And then conversely, the spiritual person, you know, their strength is alignment. Like we, as spiritual people, know what is in alignment and what is out of alignment, right? We know what is right, you know, from a heart space, you know, and how to live according to that, right? And not become victims of like fear, essentially, and like negativity. You know, we delve into ourselves to find the inner strength to follow a life that is serene, beautiful, you know, gentle, full of love and joy, right? Full of healing. That is the spiritual gift, right? Alignment. And the crux of this entry is we need to find a beautiful meeting point for these two, right? Because a person who is too aggressive, too materialistic, he has no connection. He has no alignment, right? He doesn't see how his actions are hurting people, right? And there are plenty of examples of people who create a lot, but their creation process carries with it a lot of pain. Not only for people, for other people, but also to themselves, right? They create from a place that is very out of alignment. It is from a place of fear. It is out of a place of desperation, obligation, shadow, essentially, right? And then conversely, the spiritual person, you know, he or she does the whole emotional healing thing. He or she does, like, you know, the shining the light of consciousness on, like, the shadow, you know, shadow work, essentially, the shadow of their own humanity, right? And so, like, they come to know very acutely what is right, you know, what is beautiful, as opposed to what is violent and ugly, right? And what is violent and ugly isn't necessarily what is on the surface beautiful and ugly, right? You know, as I mentioned in previous entries, it is more what is ugly to us is more like the suppression, you know, the kind of secondary layer that we put on things, right? It is the muffling down of our authentic feeling and expression. That is what is truly ugly, not what is on the surface ugly. You know, not anger, not rage or jealousy. You know, because all of those things are actually very beautiful, right? It is rather the suppression of those things that is ugly, right? You know, it is that suppression that keeps us away from our divinity, from our higher selves, right? Expressing our higher selves, you know. And that is what shadow work and emotional healing and the whole kind of spirituality thing is all about, right? And so, but like the spiritual person, like, you know, they can be lost in like all of this creation and not know how to create themselves. You know, that's the biggest thing with spiritual people, you know, spiritual bypassing, where they just sit there and like they know exactly what is right, what to them is right, but then they look around and they're like, the world is fucking bullshit. You know, I don't want to be a part of this world. I want to distance myself away from this physical existence as much as possible. You know, and thus like they live as like useless hermits, basically. Useless oracles, as it were. But like the sweet spots, you know, the kind of holy grail, the point of destiny is when these two meet, you know, and this is what I call creation without suffering, or building without harm, right? It is when we realize that we need both, you know, a thirst for life, an excitement for life, you know, an excitement of creating, because we are here. This is 3D. We are here in this physical existence, and we came here to create. We came here to experience. We came here to have lots of fucking crazy adventures, you know, and like amazing, like, and sometimes a bit questionable, like experiences, right? We're here to like explore, you know, we you know, with joy and curiosity and like the adventurous spirit, right? You know, that's fucking amazing, right? We came here to explore and to create, right? But at the same time, a connection is also important, because without a connection to source, to Mother Nature, you know, to the divine source that nurtures us all, as our mothers did when we came out of the womb, right? Without that sense of home that spirituality affords us, we become neurotic, fearful, dangerous to others and ourselves, right? We start to move from a place of fear and oppression, because, and you know, why would anyone, you know, oppress anyone else? It's because they themselves feel oppressed. That's why. Because they feel that they are not deserving of love, because they have lost their connection with their divinity, with their inner peace, with their inner sense of belonging and hope and love and joy. That is why they go towards the destructive path, right? But as we move forwards, as we evolve, right, if we wish to evolve, you know, if we wish to live lives of fulfillment, of transcendence, of beauty, of excitement, of curiosity, of love, of passion, and joy, we must learn to meet in the middle of these two things. To create, to move, and to build and experience, and to put ourselves out into the world, and to interact with others and things, and do so from a place of joy and curiosity, right? Right, and so like, it is kind of, you know, I made an entry about riding a knife edge. It's kind of like riding a knife edge, right? You know, you don't want to be so obsessed with creating that you lose sight of like the bigger picture, and like it becomes about competition and like, you know, but like from a place of like fear and like desperation. Like you become one of those people who like just works or like chase success because of a lack of love and a lack of like security. You know, it is massive insecurity that these people do this, right? But also, like, you don't want to be so scared of living that you just sit there and nothing happens and you kind of just slowly wither away. You know, you don't want that to happen either, right? You want to create, but at the same time, you don't want to create. You want to create in the most benevolent way possible, right? In the way that benefits yourself. How will it benefit yourself, right? It benefits you from giving you joy. So don't fucking waste your time doing things that don't give you joy. Even if you quote unquote have to do them, right? It's fine. We all have to survive, right? You know, we all have to have a bottom line. We all need to maybe have a job if we don't have any income, you know, because we need to survive, right? But like past that, don't do anything that harms you, right? And by harm, I mean anything that doesn't make you happy. Because that you have to see that as harming yourself, right? Anything that you don't have to do, and you do it because you think that you have to do it, but you don't actually have to do it. Because think about it. Do you really need a fucking, like, amazing car? Do you fucking need an amazing house? Do you fucking need, like, a fucking amazing furniture or, like, amazing equipment or fucking amazing whatever it is? A qualification in order to be happy and to be successful? Really think about that. Do you really need all that stuff? Or do you just need the essentials to like get you by, to keep you healthy and to allow you to make whatever it is that you make, right? That you love and you're passionate about, right? Don't fall into the trap of, you know, doing things that you don't love, because it will lead to harm to yourself by making you miserable, and that misery will leak into existence and infect the lives of other people. You'll harm both yourself and other people by doing that, right? But at the same time, create. Don't stifle yourself. You know, don't succumb to fear, right? And stay there and not do anything, right? We came here to create. You have a right to create. Don't feel like your gifts aren't welcome here on the physical realm, because they are. You know, even if you don't know what it is that you're good at, right? You have no, like, you know, refined talents, let's just say. I guarantee you that you have something that you love. And for those of you, you know, this was me, so like I completely relate to how you feel, right? For those of you who feel like you're not interested in anything, right? Because for the longest time I felt as though like I was not interested in anything, right? Like almost as if like I lacked curiosity, right? You know, it was like, you know, like all of my friends like were really curious, and like, you know, they would always discover new things, and I would always be the one left behind, right? For all of those of you who feel like that, it's because you believe, again, like you feel like there's a disconnect between connection and love and creation, because of people, like, you know, people telling you essentially, or like the message that you receive, that like you can't do the things that you love because they're weird or unsustainable or whatever fucking judgment, you know, insert X fucking bullshit judgment here, right? No, just do exactly what it is that you love, no matter how small. If you like playing games, play games, right? But recognize when that becomes neurotic, right? Because, you know, in my experience, you know, like, for example, I've played games, and I play games that I don't actually like, but I cling to the identity of being a gamer, and so, like, I have to play this game. You know, oh, this is a JRPG, so I have to play it. But, like, if that JRPG or whatever genre game is that you're playing is shit, don't play it, right? Don't feel that you have to limit yourself, you know, just do whatever it is that you feel like doing, right? And if you feel like the kind of guilt, you know, like, oh, maybe I should finish this game, or maybe I should finish this thing, that's fine, you know, like, you know, just like sit with that, right? But then like think about how like you can just do whatever it is you feel like doing, you know, and don't limit yourself, right? You know, like I made an entry which I highly recommend you guys check out, which is I talked about essentially like the source of creativity, right? So like the feeling of love and the source of creativity, or rather the source of creativity and feeling of love, right? I highly recommend you watch that video, that entry, because I explained this very thing. You know, how do you become more creative? How do you become more curious? How do you enjoy life? Essentially, you know, it is, you just let yourself do whatever, you know, and that is free from judgment, right? Because some of, you know, this was my case, right? I thought that like because I was older now, I shouldn't play games. How fucking weird is that, right? You know, like I play games now. I've always played games. Even when I was fucking heavily judging myself about it, I was still playing games. But like I had this judgment all along of like, you know, I can't play games because I'm 27, 28 now. You know, I can't watch K-pop videos and follow K-pop stars because that was only when I was at uni and I was going through that phase. You know, I can't, you know, watch stupid videos that I used to watch because I'm a different person now. Like I'm such a, like, you know, I'm too good for that stuff. You know, it's like I can't watch Niga Higa. You know, I'm just pulling like a random example out of my ass, but like because I only watched that when I was like a teenager and I was dumber back then. You know, am I trying to fucking insult Niga Higa here? No, like. Don't stifle it. Whatever it is that you love, like you have to realize that all of these sides of you, all of these things that you enjoy, they're beautiful. They're what bring you joy after all. Just because you went through a phase doesn't mean that phase is out of bounds now. And like I wasn't to do an entry about this, but like essentially like, you know, how do you, it's another kind of thing towards unconsciousness. It's like the past is never dead. And I may do an entry about this in the future, I may not. I'll just mention this entry anyway. It's like, the past is never dead. You know, the past is only ever dead when you judge it to be so, when you deem it to be so, right? The past is always alive. You know, that little kid that you once were is still inside of you. You know, so why are you judging him or her? Why are you stopping him from like being part of who you are and bringing joy and love to your life. You know, don't do it, right? And so, for those of you who, you know, who like find yourselves like, you know, ground to the ground, you know, ground into the ground, feeling like there's no fucking point or anything, and like all you ever do is like busybody with things that you don't give a shit about, and like you're just like, right. You need to connect with the things that you love. You know, you need to start making time away from your busy schedule of like busybodying, and you need to start to make time for things that you actually love. And you need to be courageous a bit, because like it's like you have all of this preconceived notion of like, you know, no, I have to focus on my job, I have to focus on my image, you know, because my image is really important, because like, you know, like people judge you based on how you are, you know, blah blah blah. It's like, no, you have to be brave enough to be like, fuck you. Essentially, fuck you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to play games, I'm going to learn to sew even though I'm a boy, you know. You know, I want to, you know, start learning how to fix cars even though I'm a girl, you know. Whatever it is, you know, do it. You know, start small and start doing it, you know. And for those of us who don't take action, you know, the spiritual heads, you know, start by doing the things that you love and truly love, right? You know, recognize when you're doing things that you don't love because like you feel as though like you have to do them, because like creation is scary. You know, like you only have this limited identity and you thrive on being unique, you know, and that's how your ego is, you know, that's how your ego structure is set up. No. Just do something that you enjoy doing. It doesn't matter how small. You know, pick the things that you love. And like try to find as many things that you love and try doing them all at once, and don't limit yourself. You know, that's the thing that you know we need to do, is to stop limiting ourselves. So cool. Anyway, that's my message in this entry. It is to create without harming. By harming, I mean be like making ourselves miserable and making other people miserable. Right? We cannot be happy by doing things that make us miserable. No matter how much we try to rationalize it, no matter how much that ego shadow thing, you know, brainwashes us into thinking that we actually need to do these things, that we might actually enjoy them. No. You know, like, again, lower the bar. You know, don't think about, I have to do this to make money from it. As long as you have a job, as long as you have some way of supporting yourself, and if you don't find that thing, right, it's going to be a bit hard, like a bit of a pain in the arse, basically, initially, but do it, you know, do it. Anyway, yeah. So cool, I hope this entry has been helpful. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully you guys are having a great day, and I will catch you guys in the next entry. Peace out. Ding! Peace.